Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for season 2017. This is episode 15 and let's get stuck into having a look at what's coming up in this episode. I'm going to start the episode off with an overview of our round 7 clash with Richmond. Looking forward to talking about that match. It was a thriller. And yeah, looking forward to giving you my thoughts. I'm then going to be giving my votes from that game for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award, followed by a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder, whether our position has changed or not from the conclusion of round 6. Then getting stuck into our VFL round 4 clash v Richmond, which happened before the AFL clash at Etihad Stadium on Saturday, giving you my thoughts and overviewing that match. A look at where we stand on the VFL ladder follows that, and then followed by a preview of our VFL Round 5 clash v Port Melbourne, then a preview of our AFL Round 8 clash v the West Coast Eagles, followed by the 5 fan questions, the fan favourite segment here on After the Dogs Roar. So that's the show, that's the episode agenda. Now let's get stuck into having a look at our Round 7 clash v Richmond. So on Saturday night, we were versing Richmond in our Round 7 AFL clash. Of course, we were looking to bounce back after that loss, that narrow two-point loss to the GWS Giants at Manuka Oval the week before. Richmond were actually looking to bounce back after their horrible loss to the Adelaide Crows in Round 6. Of course, Adelaide were just far too strong in that game. So this was expected to be a really, really good clash. It did turn out that way, although Richmond got the fast start in the first quarter, led early in the second quarter by 32 points. The quarter time score was 117 to Richmond 5-3-33. So we were off to a bit of a slow start. It's fair to say that earlier in the game. What was pleasing, though, that we didn't actually have a lot of behinds at the end of the first quarter. That's something that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, which has been doing us no favours at all. So Richmond, they had a 32-point lead at the start of the second quarter. We ended up tightening the Richmond lead to 18 points at half-time. It was 4-6-30, our mob to Richmond 7-6-48. The second half was where we really started to get going. The first half was, I thought, a bit slow. We let Richmond just kind of ease their way to a strong lead at the various quarter time and half time break. But we really tightened it up in the third quarter, and we trailed only by a couple of points at three-quarter time, 8-11-59 to Richmond, 9-7-61. The last quarter, though, we made it our own. It was a real close last quarter. We managed to get in front for the first time of the whole match, and it actually stayed that way, and in the end we were able to win. We actually had more behinds than goals in the end, though, which is not pleasing at all. I've spoken about this the last couple of weeks. You know my opinion on that, but we do win. It was a narrow win by 5 points, but we get the job done after a slow start. The final score being the Western Bulldogs 11-14-80 defeated Richmond 11-9-75. A controversial out of bounds on the full, which deliberate out of bounds was paid. And, you know, people might say that cost Richmond the game, but it really didn't, because they had opportunities to get in front, and we were able to hold them off in the end and win the match by 5 points. So let's have a look now at the goal kickers, the all-important goal kickers for this match. The goal kickers were Clay Smith getting on the board with 4. Of course, he's... I feel like the fans have been not very happy with his performance the last couple of weeks, so he showed his true colours with 4 goals and back to his best against Richmond on Saturday night. Adams kicked 2, which is absolutely fantastic, which means that Marcus Adams can definitely work up forward. He actually took a ripping mark at one stage, so he kicked 2. Stringer, Picken, McLean, Bontempelli and Hunter kicked singles. And the best players were Dalehouse, Bontempelli, Hunter, Smith and Tom Boyd. Some injury concerns coming out of the game. Stringer did a knee, however it's not as bad as what we first thought. I think a lot of people might have thought it was an ACL, but he wasn't on crutches at the end of the game, and the medicos of the Western Bulldogs have said that he's only expected to miss a couple of weeks, so that is very, very pleasing. Dunkley's shoulder injury is a bit more of a concern though. He requires surgery, and so he's probably going to miss a bit of period of time. He might be back at the back end of this season. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a medico. They haven't actually put a time length on when he's how long he's going to be out for, but he does require surgery, which suggests that he's going to be out for at least a couple of months. So yeah, so 2 injuries there to 2 very good players, Stringer and Dunkley. And just over 46,000 attended this match at Etihad Stadium to watch the Western Bulldogs win by 5 points in what was a cracking game. We did start off slow, which we really cannot do on Friday night against the Eagles, but we managed to finish strong and win a close one once again. Okay, time now for my votes, my round 7 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award for 2017. Let's get stuck into my votes. I've given 1 vote to Lachie Hunter. I thought he was really, really good in this match. Performed well. He kicked 1 goal, 28 disposals. 15 of them were handballs. The other 13 were kicks. He marked 8 balls, 8 tackles. He gained 131 fantasy points if you're into fantasy. AFL Fantasy Dream Team, etc. He was a real influence in this match. So Lachie Hunter gets the 1 vote. The 2 votes goes to Luke Dalehouse. He was fantastic. Didn't get on the score sheet with a goal, but he got 1 behind. He was able to apply 5 tackles, mark 5 balls, 31 disposals, which was the most out of any player on the field on Saturday night. 17 handballs, 14 kicks. He played really, really well. Luke Dalehouse gets the 2 votes for me. And the 3 votes goes to Marcus Bontempelli. He kicked 1 goal. 27 disposals, 4 marks, 9 tackles, really did apply the pressure, 15 handballs, 12 kicks. I thought he was fantastic on Saturday night, really deserves the 3 votes. He was best on ground for me. It could have went either way. Luke Dalehouse was definitely in the mix for the 3 votes, and there was a few players outside of my votes that really could have got into the votes this week. There was at least 5 or 6 players who really did play well and deserved at least 1 vote, but I could only give 3, 2 and 1 votes to 3 players. So that is my votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Time now to have a look at how the leaderboard looks. So Marcus Bontempelli currently leads, just like last week. He leads on 11 votes. Luke Dalehouse second on 8 votes. Lachie Hunter third on 6 votes. Jason Johannesson is 4th on 3 votes. And then 5th, joint 5th, is Lin Jong, Matthew Suckling, Toby McLean, Jack McRae and Caleb Daniel on 2 votes each. And then joint 10th is Tommy Vittore, Liam Picken, Jake Stringer and Zane Cordy on 1 vote each. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Okay, time now to have a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder after round 7. We have moved from 7th to 5th because of that win against Richmond. What a round of footy it was, round 7. The Adelaide Crows lost their first for the year to North Melbourne in Hobart. They still up on the top of the ladder, although every team has at least lost 1 and every team has at least won 1. So a very even competition at the moment. As I said, we're 5th on the ladder. We've moved up from that 7th place where we were last week after round 6. And you can see there that Geelong and West Coast Eagles, they are on 20 points as well as us, although they have the better percentages. And of course a big game coming up against the West Coast Eagles, who are on 4th position. If we beat them, we can move in to the top 4 after round 8. So that is the AFL ladder. Where we stand, we currently stand at 5th place after round 7. Okay, time now to get stuck into our round 4 VFL clash. Our Footscray Bulldogs were taking on Richmond in a curtain raiser to the AFL game on Saturday night. And this turned out to be a real ripper of a game. If you thought the game on Saturday night was good, well, have a look at this one. It was absolutely fantastic. If you went and watched both of the games, the VFL and the AFL, then you were in for an absolute treat because both games were fantastic, and this VFL game was absolutely ripping. We got off to a slow start in the first quarter. We actually we trailed by a heap. It was 16-12 to Richmond, 7-3-45 at quarter time, an absolute massive lead to Richmond at the quarter time break. We somehow managed to narrow it down to 9 points at half time, and the score was 6-9-45 to Richmond, 8-6-54. That was the half time score. Three-quarter time score, we were down by 12 points, 9-14-68 to Richmond, 12-8-80. The fourth quarter, however, was absolutely stunning, and we were able to come back. Each team scored over 100 points, which you don't really see enough of in I guess, the AFL. Not really sure about the VFL if we see that often enough, but I guess these days you don't really see it often enough in any competition, to be honest. But we were able to come back and we were able to win in what was an absolute ripping clash. We have now won 3 in a row in the VFL. The final score being Footscray Bulldogs 17-16-118, defeated Richmond 17-9-111. What a ripping game of football. Let's have a look at the goal kickers for our Footscray Bulldogs. The big story is Redpath, of course, injured last year in that round 18 clash against the Saints, as well as Wallace, who was injured in that game as well. He returned this week in the VFL. Last week, I should say, kicked 6 goals. Absolutely fantastic effort by Redpath, and it raises the question whether he can come into the side to play the West Coast Eagles this week. You would probably highly doubt it, to be honest, but you have to raise the question. Dixon kicked 3, as well as Dale, Webb, Wallace, Gowers, Hamilton, and Tehesky Beckwith kicked singles for our Footscray Bulldogs. No best players listed on the website there, so I'm not sure who got best, but I believe Wallace was definitely one of those best on players, as well as Redpath, who kicked 6 goals. So that's the big story there. Redpath kicking 6. Wallace had an outstanding game again as well. Got in the top of the ranks for who was best on ground in the game, and that's probably 2 players who are very who are pushing the selection table, I reckon, this week. So great win there from our Footscray VFL side. Okay, let's have a look now at where the Footscray Bulldogs stand on the VFL ladder. We are in the top 3. We are third. Richmond have fell all the way down to 6, but we are third. We are level on points with the Northern Blues and also Sandringham. However, we have the better percentage than those 2 sides. And we versed Port Melbourne, who haven't lost a game and are on top of the ladder with a very large percentage on 16 points. So if we beat them this week, then we can possibly go to the top 2, possibly even to the top of the ladder, although it is going to be a very, very tough game. So there you go. We are third on the VFL ladder after round 4. And as I mentioned, our next VFL game, our round 5 VFL clashes with Port Melbourne. Over there in Port Melbourne at Northport Oval, starting at 2:10 p.m. It's on Saturday the 13th of May. If you're not going to the game, then you can actually sit back on your lounge if you're in Melbourne and watch this game on 7. Of course, you can watch this game on 7 Plus if you're living in other parts of the country, but yeah, this game will be broadcasted, so if you're not going to the game, then you can sit back and watch it on the TV. Looking forward to seeing how this game pans out, because it is first v third. We are on third on the ladder, as you saw, and Port Melbourne are first. It is going to be a real ripper, I reckon. So, and of course, if we win, then we have a chance to go top of the ladder after round 5. So, a massive clash coming up against Port Melbourne on Saturday, the 13th of May, starting at 2:10 p.m. Okay, now let's have a look at our Round 8 AFL clash. We're taking on the West Coast Eagles back in Perth at Domain Stadium. This is the first time we will meet the West Coast Eagles since that elimination final last year at this very venue, Domain Stadium, where we defied odds to win and go through to week 2 of the finals to play Hawthorn at the MCG. What a stunning win that was. Of course, the West Coast Eagles, they'll be wanting revenge after that loss to us in the elimination final last year. Of course, they're coming off 2 wins against Fremantle and Port Adelaide. And it will be a tough match because even though we did win that elimination final at Domain Stadium last year, we have actually struggled in the past to beat the West Coast Eagles at Domain Stadium. So we're going to have to really be on our game. I really prefer that we don't start off slow as what we did against Richmond last week, because the Eagles will punish us. Of course, they've got some big guns, some good players. It's going to be a tough match, it's no question about that, but we of course have the ability to beat them because we beat them over there last year in the elimination final where it really did matter. So this game on Friday night, Friday the 12th of May, starting at 8:10 p.m. Melbourne time, that is 6:10 p.m. local time, Perth time, at Domain Stadium. You can watch all the action on free-to-air on 7 and on pay TV on Fox Footy in HD. So looking forward to this match on Friday night. I'll be sitting back on my couch and watching this match and cannot wait. Go the Doggies. We can definitely win this, although we do need to be on our game. Okay, time now for the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. You know how this segment works, so let's get stuck into having a look at the questions. I start with Matt Button, who asks, Wallace and Redpath have now played 2 and 1 VFL games respectively after having serious knee leg injuries. Is it too early to recall either to the senior team? I reckon it is a little bit too early, probably more so for Redpath because he's only played 1 game. I think he needs a couple of more games before he's definitely right and ready to play in the senior team. Although 6 goals, you can't go past that in his first game. But we probably shouldn't jump the gun too early because I think he needs another game or 2 before he can actually go back to the senior side or get back in the senior side. Wallace is an interesting one because he's played 2 games now and they've both been really good games. So look, they're both going to be considered. It's no question about that on the selection table this week, especially with Stringer and Dunkley getting injured and probably coming out of the side. But there will be advice from the medicos, and if that advice is to not play him in the AFL this week, then they won't be playing. But I think they'll both be considered. I think it is a little bit too early, but I hope we do see them in the senior side this week because they look like they're in good form. But I reckon we're jumping the gun with Redpath a little bit because it's only his first game back. Wallace, I think, is more likely to come in. So, yeah, I think it is a little bit too early, but I think Wallace might be a chance to come in this week. Redpath could be a chance as well, but I think just with 1 game under his belt, I think that's a little bit too soon. I don't know. Maybe it's probably best if we leave them at home this week and bring him back for the Friday night clash at Simmons Stadium against Geelong the next week. I think that might be a better idea, but yeah, I think it is a little bit too early, but I reckon they could be a chance to come into the side this week. They will be on the selection table, no question about that. John Wright asks, being an interstate game this week, do you think we should rest our older players from travel, take young ones and take the gamble or maybe a loss? No, I wouldn't rest anyone, to be honest. It's only, round 8? It's only round 8. We've got a bye coming up in the next couple of weeks. Our older players are more than capable of going over to Perth and playing in this game. If they aren't right or they aren't fit to play in these type of big games just because we're travelling interstate, then in my opinion, they should be retired. So, no, I don't think we should rest anyone. We've got a bye coming up in the next couple of weeks. We should use that to rest players. It's only still early in the season. Players should be very more than capable, especially older ones, to travel interstate to play in a big game like this. This is a big game for us, a very big game, one that we really want to win. And the last time we went over to Domain Stadium when we versed Fremantle, we lost. So, no, look, I don't think we should be resting anyone unless we really need to rest them, unless they're actually really fatigued that they can't play in the match on Friday night. But no, we shouldn't be taking a loss either. That's not on. So, no, John, we shouldn't be taking a gamble at all. We shouldn't be resting any players unless we actually need to. And we need to be taking our best 22 to Domain Stadium on Friday night. Red WB asks, do our fans recognise benefit from having 4 running mids at stoppages rather than traditional ruckman and 3 prime movers? It's a very interesting one because I'm a bit divided about this, because I think we do need the traditional ruck to be rucking for us. I think with Dunkley and Jong doing a bit of the ruck work on Saturday night, I thought that was a bit strange, and I think everyone thought that was a bit strange. Whether I thought it was right or not is a different question. And I think we would have benefited if we had someone like English in the side to ruck for us. But look, Beveridge knows what he's doing, and I don't know. I guess if Beveridge recognises and thinks that it's going to work for our team, then I guess we've got to put our trust, and the fans definitely do have to recognise the benefit of this kind of change to our game style. But I'd like to see a ruck, a traditional ruck be rucking for us, because I'm not really sure if I like the idea of Dunkley and Jong and smaller type players or midfielders rucking for us at stoppages. I'm not sure if I really like the idea of that. Melton Bogan has popped in and said and asked, I was turfed out of 17 schools during the 1990s for insufficient intent, and everyone thought that was a fair call. So why the big fuss about the deliberate out of bounds rule? Look, personally, I'm not a big fan of the deliberate out of bounds. I think it's being adjudicated poorly, in my opinion, and that's not the umpire's fault. I heard Damien Hardwick say that he doesn't blame the umpires at all. Let's face it, that wasn't a great call on Saturday night when the Richmond player fumbled it over the line and it was paid deliberate out of bounds. Not saying that cost him the game, because it definitely didn't at all. Anything could have happened. We could have rucked it out and it could have been kicked out of our defensive 50 for all we know. But no, look, in terms of the deliberate out of bounds, look, I like the idea of it, but I don't like how it's being adjudicated. I think there's some that are way too harsh. Like kicking it to space and then it's going out of bounds. I think that's kind of a bit harsh, when the player's intent is probably not to get it over the line but just kick it to space. So once we find that balance, I think this rule will be fantastic. But at the moment, it's not being adjudicated consistently and fairly, in my opinion. So that's why there is a little bit of a big deal around this rule, because it's not being adjudicated to what we think it should be adjudicated. Final question from WBD Premiership. Is it too premature to recall Redpath? I think it is, because he's only played 1 game, even though he had a big bag of 6 in what was a fantastic game of football. I think it is still too early. So following on from what I said before, I think Wallace is probably more likely to play this week than Redpath. I would leave Redpath at home, to be honest, and just give him another week against Port Melbourne in the VFL and see how he goes then, and then possibly bring him in for the Geelong game. And that is it for another episode of After the Dogs Roar for 2017, episode 15. A quick couple of things before I leave you. Firstly, AFL Evolution was released last week. If you're a game fan or an AFL game fan and you want to play as the Western Bulldogs, then go and pick up this game now, because it's fantastic. I've enjoyed playing it. It is a little bit difficult for me at the moment because I'm still trying to get used to it, but I like it. I think it's fantastic. So if you want to play as the Western Bulldogs, possibly take them to another couple of premierships in a career mode, then go pick this game up now. It's out now for a reasonable price. So AFL Evolution, thought I'd give that a plug and just say that I think it's a decent game. I think it does have its pros and cons, like every game does, but it is a decent game, and it's very, very good that we have another AFL game on the market. So AFL Evolution out now. How good is Marcus Bontempelli on the front, by the way? That's the best part of the game, I reckon, is Marcus Bontempelli on the front of that cover. A premiership player, a premiership star. He is a gun. He will probably be a Brownlow very, very soon. It's good to see him on the front cover of AFL Evolution. Another thing also, I want to make you aware of a show that I host, another show which I actually live stream on Facebook every Monday night at 8:45 PM Melbourne time, Eastern time that is, and that is The Bev Show. You can go view it at facebook.com/The Bev Show, as I mentioned, every Monday night at 8:45 PM. So if you want to ask me anything Bulldog related, I do answer comments and so forth, so get into the comments at 8:45 PM and ask me anything Western Bulldogs related if you have anything to ask me. So that is every Monday night, 8:45 PM, the Bev Show. It is about an hour long, an hour or a bit long, the show. So, and I very much enjoy hosting it. So go check that out, facebook.com/thebevshow. So that is it. Thank you very much. Let's hope the Dogs get a win this Friday night. Bye for now.